We start tonight with a breaking news from the presidency with a statement that has just been issued appointing a deputy IGP. MFA, what are the details?
So the statement is signed by the Director of Communications, Office of the President, Eugene Ahin, and it's captioned, President Akufo-Addo appoints COP, Christian Tetteh Yohuno as deputy IGP in charge of operations. It goes on to say, I'll read verbatim what the statement says, Evans. It says, the President of the Republic, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has appointed Commissioner of Police, COP, Mr. Christian Tetteh Yohuno, as the new Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of operations. This appointment is pursuant to the advice of the Police Council at its meeting held today, Wednesday, 17th July 2024, during which COP Yohuno's exceptional credentials and dedication to duty were acknowledged. COP Christian Tetteh Yohuno is a distinguished law enforcement officer with a career spanning over 3 decades and has held various key positions within the Ghana Police Service. President Akufo-Addo extends his heartfelt congratulations to COP Christian Tetteh Yohuno on his well-deserved appointment and wishes him the very best in the discipline of or discharge of his duties.
So if you're just joining us, a statement from the presidency there appointing a deputy IGP in charge of operations. I want to bring in right now a former Deputy Interior Minister. He's also right now the ranking member on the Defense and Interior Committee. James Agaga joins us on the line. Also joining me, a security analyst and Chief Executive Officer of the Security Warehouse Limited, Adam Bona, also joins us right now. Put it in context, this is coming some 4 months to a major elections, and I want to get your thoughts on these the change that has just happened there with the addition of Mr. Yohuno, who have been there already and has been doing some work now as a Deputy IGP. Mr. Agaga, first to you. You were a Deputy Interior Minister. You're ranking now. Good move?
Well, Evans, the police service has always had the position of Deputy Inspector General of Police as one of the topmost positions that any government would want to fill. Fortunately, for some time now, that position has been left vacant. And so if the president has decided that he's filling that vacancy, in principle, I don't think there is anything wrong with that. In any case, who is COP Yohuno? COP Yohuno, for a very long time, was the second in command after the Inspector General of Police. So anytime you saw GP2 was synonymous to Christian Tetteh Yohuno because he was second in command. And therefore, nothing has changed dramatically. The only suspicion I have is that listening to what you read out, the wording of Tetteh Yohuno's appointment suggests that he's going to be Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of operations. Is that to say that we're going to have yet another appointment, in charge of administration, or what? What I do know, and what the position has always been, is that we've had one slot reserved for a Deputy Inspector General of Police. And so I thought the wording of that letter would have been that, okay, he's Deputy Inspector General of Police, simple and straightforward. But to say he's Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of operations could mean that we may have a second appointment. If a second appointment is made, to occupy the position of Deputy Inspector General of Police, in addition to Christian Yohuno's appointment, that would be problematic for me, Evan.
So when it says in charge of operations, does that tie the hands of the current IGP to have supervisory jurisdiction over operations, for example?
Not necessarily, except that if you say he's deputy in charge of operations, he would work up to the IGP. But the fundamental question is, are we going to see yet another appointment of a deputy IGP responsible for administration, or what? If not, it was unnecessary to say he's Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of operations. That is my worry, because what I do know is that the position of Deputy IGP is one slot in the past, we've had some people occupy that position before. I think Ms. Robinson was Deputy Inspector General of Police. The former Inspector General of Police, IGP Alasan, was once upon a time a Deputy Inspector General of Police. But on occasions, I can remember Dr. Mafu. He was also Deputy Inspector General of Police. They did not share the position with others. That is why I am a bit curious as to whether the president, by the letter issued in his name, intends to appoint yet another commissioner to serve as another Deputy Inspector General of Police in addition to Christian Yohuno. That said, I should congratulate Christian Tetteh Yohuno. I mean, he's a seasoned police officer. He's acquitted himself very well. I think at some point he was even given the order of the Star of Volta or so. I don't quite remember the appropriate title of that award. It was a national award. I mean, in recognition of the sacrifices and hard work he had actually put up.
Stay with me. I want to bring in Adam Bona into the conversation. Adam Bona, you've watched the police service very closely. I remember having a conversation with you years back when we were thinking about who becomes the next IGP, and you had the list of individuals, and Mr. Yohuno was one of them. What's your comment on the change that has happened tonight in terms of his moving up to become a deputy IGP?
Well, just like my brother Honorable Agaga said, usually you have deputy IGP simpliciter. You don't have deputy IGP in charge of operations, because then you have Director General operations within the Ghana Police Service. And remember, COP, let me congratulate him, just like my brother Agaga did. He's a fine police officer. He was one of the people who we did our survey some time ago, when the position of IGP was vacant. And so, I mean, we can't take that away from him. He's a very disciplined police officer, and we expect that he would do as he's been doing. He's already the GP2. If you look at their hierarchy, he drives. He's the GP2, and he performs deputy IGP functions, even though maybe within the political sphere or the executive, it is not official. But within the police ranks, he's a deputy IGP, if you ask me. But like my Honorable Agaga said, if you say in charge of operations, what's the meaning of in charge of operations? It's something that they should have explained to us, because then the most recent deputy IGP was Opombwenu. Opombwenu was deputy IGP to Asante Apietu. And he was, you can go back to his appointment letter, he was deputy IGP simpliciter. And so, are we now going to have maybe not one, but several deputy IGPs? Deputy IGP maybe in charge of finance, deputy IGP in charge of admin, in charge of services. Is that what we are going to see? And so mine is that already Yohuno, the good thing is I was performing that function or the functions as the function of a deputy IGP. But call it 4 months into an election for every democracy like ours, usually the top hierarchy of the security architecture is usually not tempered with. It's something that we should know. It's a convention. It's not usually, because once you begin to tamper with it, it brings about a lot of suspicion. It brings about, people beginning to read meanings into it and asking questions. And so,
and tonight, considering
to do that.
Yes, it is. And considering what has happened recently, and the police itself was forced to issue a statement to deny reports that the IGP had been removed. The timing of this has come up and raised a few eyebrows, are saying, well, you have a deputy IGP, yes, qualified, but with a specific responsibility of being in charge of operations. And the questions are being raised about the disappointment at this time on the back of the police itself dealing with rumors of the IGP being undermined Does this play into that?
Well, it does. I mean, I'm on several platforms, and already people are saying, is this, a way to ask to oust the IGP? I mean, and what I say is that I doubt this is going, because then no president will do that, or no leader will do that 4 months into an election, because that would be catastrophic. If any president attempted to do that, that would still, there will be a lot of, definitely, and I said, well, I don't think so. Your COP Yohuno, we can't take that away from him. He's a fine police officer, COP, very disciplined. Those, I know him. I've worked closely with him in the past. And so I can say he's a very fine police officer. But like I'm saying, the timing is the thing. What is it? But like I said, the convention all over the world, you don't tamper with any security architecture usually 6 months into election.
And
Trump
on that point,
to do that before he lost the election, and his advisors asked him not to do it.
And on that point, let me bring in Mr. Gaga on that. Mr. Gaga, what's your comment on the timing?
Well, I have stated the fact that, look, all along we've always had the GP2, and the GP2 is the second in command after the IGP. And so if the idea is to make the position official by filling the vacuum that has been left for quite some time, there is nothing wrong with that. But I am curious that the designation of COP Yohuno as Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of operations.
What makes you curious?
Like my brother Adam Bona has stated, are we going to see yet another appointment of a Deputy IGP responsible for finance, administration, HR, or what? If that were the case, we would have distorted the hierarchical organization
but
of
also,
the police service.
But also, Mr. Gaga,
all along, we've had the IGP as number one, Deputy IGP number two, and the commissioners.
But also, Mr. Gaga, you've been the Deputy Interior Minister before. Don't we already have a Director General responsible for operations in the police service currently?
Yes, we do have a Director General who is a commissioner and is responsible for operations.
In that sense, then, what now happens when you have a DG, you have a Deputy IGP who is now also in charge of operations?
Well, that is why I would have thought that the appointment would come without any qualification, so that in the absence of the IGP, the Deputy Inspector General of Police would perform his functions. But now the way it is, I can foresee the president appointing another person as an IGP, but that would create problems, because we haven't had that before. It would mean that the entire hierarchy of the police service would have to be reorganized. That would be something new.
Mr. Bona, you were making a comment on the existing role. We have a Director General responsible for operations. Now we have a Deputy IGP who is also going to be in charge of operations. Well,
usually, as far as even with the order of on their role, or their roll call, the IGP is technically in charge of everything, and then you have those who are specifically asked to do maybe services and the like, HR and the like. And in the absence of the IGP, then the deputy steps in and performs, that role. But now we have a deputy IGP in charge of operations. Does that mean the DG operations will go comatose? We won't have any work to do? Are we going to have several other deputy IGPs? I don't want to believe so. I don't want to think so. But it's only time that will tell. It's just the timing. If you ask me, every person who security watcher, political watchers will be asking the same questions. Why do this 4 months into, a high-tension elections when the EC boss is actually saying that today, I think she did a press conference saying whoever loses the elections must accept, and the political commentators are arguing all over the place. So I think that whatever is done around this time, the president, the executive would have to be very careful so that we don't have a Kenya-style chaos in this country. We need to be very measured in what we are doing, because then I don't think, and today, a survey that has been conducted says that a majority of the young people, 53 or so, on the continent have never seen coup before, and so they think military rule is an option to this type of democracy. So I don't think that the timing is very good, if you ask me, in terms of these things. So the president would have to be very measured in whatever decisions is taken from now on in terms of our security architecture.
Yeah, and Mr. Gaga, talking about the IGP, that leaked tape report that was the subject of your committee's work isn't complete, is it? I mean, from what we heard from the floor of Parliament, the Speaker has asked that this returns for you to do some more work on this. Where are you with completing it for the House to take a final decision?
Oh, Evans, the report was subsequently debated thoroughly and adopted by the House. So the committee's work is complete. Its report has been adopted by the House, and the Speaker ordered that a copy of the report be served on the President for his urgent attention and action.
So in there, you expect the recommendations that you make to be carried and enforced. And I note you obviously raise issues about the individuals who had plotted, and that's a conspiracy that you established. You're expecting the President to carry out those findings and recommendations? Absolutely,
Evans. The conspiracy against the current IGP was established beyond doubt that COP Mensa, Superintendent Tesari, and JB had conspired to remove him in order to allow for the breaking of the eight. But most fundamentally, Evans, the report made far-reaching recommendations aimed at ensuring that the management of election security, which is actually a role that the police must play. I mean, they play a lead role, ought to be handled in a manner that would ensure that the forthcoming elections are free, transparent, and fair. Very important recommendation, and I think that given that we are in an election year, the President would want to have a critical look at that particular recommendation.
You're confident that he will?
Well, if he doesn't, that would be a shame. And if he doesn't, it would mean that the President has no respect for the legislative arm of government, which could result in his removal or impeachment from office. Because remember that the legislative arm of government, is established under the Constitution. And now, as President, he has sworn an oath to protect the laws of the country and, most importantly, the Constitution. So the President must demonstrate that he believes in the rule of law, he respects the Constitution, which created the arm of government called the legislature.
And that there is James Agaga, as a ranking member of the Defense and Interior Committee. Adan Bona is a security analyst, chief executive of the Security Warehouse Limited. And if you're just joining as a deputy IGP, has just been appointed. He was currently already, as we've just heard from both the former Deputy Interior Minister and Adan Bona, driving a GP2. And he's currently now the Deputy IGP Christian Tetteh Yohuno, COP. And the decision was taken after the Police Council meeting today and has been communicated from the presidency.